The story begins with the protagonist, Chi, who possesses a beautiful singing voice and dreams of starring in a musical drama. However, behind her cheerful facade, Chi harbors a dark secret that defies the laws of nature. She has the unique power to see how much time a person has left to live. It's more of a curse, as she can do nothing about impending deaths but wait for the inevitable. One afternoon, traveling by bus, she witnesses a series of crashes on a bridge. Police and paramedics arrive immediately. She observes the chaos differently, seeing the remaining lifespans of those involved. She comes across an older couple, shaken but unhurt. As she hands the wife a band-aid, she notices the husband has only a minute to live. She stands helplessly, unsure what to do. Eventually, the man suffers a heart attack. Chi tells the wife to calm down and enjoy his last minutes. She's glad to have helped even a little, as her power often leaves her feeling helpless in such situations. It's then revealed that Chi herself has only 167 days left. Knowing she will die in a few months, she wants to live her life to the fullest, auditioning for every musical in town. Sometime later, she visits Ms. O in the hospital, a good friend despite their age difference. Ms. O has been dating Mr. Park since yesterday. Chi notices he has only 67 days to live, while Ms. O has 2 years. Chi doesn't react but feels bad for them. Just as she leaves the hospital, she is hit by a car. The car is driven by Lee, a young man who suffers from anxiety attacks and is afraid to drive. He is the son of a wealthy businessman and the owner of a budding entertainment company. Chi isn't hurt, but instead of apologizing, Lee blames her for being careless. They argue before he forcefully makes her sit in a wheelchair, wanting a doctor to check her so she won't sue him later. This makes her extremely late for an audition. She asks Lee for a ride and gets into his car, even though he repeatedly asks her to leave. Noticing he's afraid to drive, she gets behind the wheel and reaches the destination in a blink. After she bids him goodbye, Lee realizes she's taken the car keys. He follows her to an auditorium. We are then introduced to Joe, a strict musical choreographer. A perfectionist, he rejects even the best performances. Chi is nervous but sings a beautiful song about childhood love. Lee watches from the audience, amazed by her talent. But Joe says her performance lacks meaning and asks her to prove she's been in love. Chi panics and scans the audience. Seeing Lee, she rushes to him and plants a brief kiss on his lips. Still, Joe remains unimpressed and she is rejected. Lee, on the other hand, is shocked. He accuses her of stealing his key and assaulting him. Chi simply hands him the key, apologizes and leaves. Seeing her cry makes Lee feel bad for yelling at her. At night, Chi meets her best friend Sung-hee, who knows about her gift. As they talk, we learn that no matter what Chi does to save someone from dying, it never works. Even in the safest conditions, they die from a heart attack or an accident. Somewhere else, Lee is on a romantic date with his girlfriend, B. She is also the daughter of a wealthy businessman and a perfect match for Lee, but unlike him, she is arrogant and manipulative. Lee has proposed to her several times, and she accepts the rings every time but never says yes. She knows that Lee is not in love with her and wants him to feel the same way she does before marrying him. Lee is going to China the next day to meet an investor. The next morning, she also gets an offer for a scuba guide gig in China. She says goodbye to her mother and younger brother before catching the flight. After landing, both Lee and Chi end up staying at the same villa. Lee's secretary informs him that the investor, Yoon, has planned for them to go scuba diving the next day. Although nervous, Lee can't say no to an investor. Later, the group goes scuba diving and Lee finds out that Chi is their guide. They dive into the water under her leadership and explore the ocean. After the tour, she leads everyone back up. When everyone is on the boat, she realizes Lee didn't follow them. She quickly dives back in and finds him. Lee, who had given up hope, is relieved to see her. They share the oxygen tube and swim upwards while still holding hands. Just then, Chi notices that her timer has frozen. She looks at it in shock and falls unconscious. When she wakes up, she is inside the boat and the watch is working normally. But when Lee comes into the room, it stops again. A shocked Chi stares at him and back at her wrist. To test if Lee stopped it, she walks away from him. As she predicted, the timer only stops when she is near him. This would mean that if she stays with him, she might have a chance to live longer. In the following scene, Chi is back in Korea with Sung-hee. Sung-hee is just as shocked when told about the timer stopping on its own. Moreover, Chi remembers that she didn't see a timer on Lee. A week later, she is informed that Lee and director Joe are teaming up to organize a musical. It is a large-level project with a high budget. If Chi gets the part, she will be closer to Lee and at the same time will fulfill her dream. Starting the next day, she trains intensely and prepares her best for the performance. Meanwhile, Lee and Joe silently fight to get more authority over the selection process. Joe doesn't want anyone else's interference in the play, but since Lee is the organizer, he pushes his way in. On the day of the audition, Chi performs a song and does much better than last time. Strangely enough, the song makes Lee feel a weird sensation in his heart, almost as if his heart is beating to the rhythm. Unable to bear the feeling, he goes outside. Chi notices his absence and tells Sung-hee about it. Being a good friend, Sung-hee devises a plan to set her up with Lee. The audition results will be announced later, but Chi has made it her mission to stalk Lee and lengthen her lifetime. Later, she goes to his office and poses as a candidate applying to be his driver. Lee asks her to leave, but she insists she is the best person for the job. When Lee leaves, she even follows him home and boldly asks him out on a date. He denies the proposal, but before they can talk further, a group of 3 men interrupts them. They are actors sent by Sung-hee to attack Lee. The plan was that Chi would save him and win his heart, but they all end up at the police station. The police officer calms Lee down and asks him to stay in the waiting room. While waiting, Chi dozes off on his shoulder. Lee wants to hate her for it, but he cannot help but feel a warm sensation in his chest. He touches her hand and rationalizes it as him paying her back for saving his life while scuba diving. What they both do not see is that the timer on her arm goes into reverse, lengthening her life instead of shortening it. After that, he and Chi come outside. Initially, she tries to talk to him and he ignores her. But before leaving, he gives her the car keys and asks her to be on time tomorrow. Chi has actually landed the job as his driver, which means she can be with him often and lengthen her lifetime. While driving away, Lee watches her celebrate and smiles. The next morning, he finds out all the background information about her. Chi was born into a wealthy family, but after her father was imprisoned for money embezzlement, they faced a huge loss. The family's current living conditions are not ideal, but Chi is ambitious for the future. Then Lee goes outside and watches her singing happily while waiting for him. He doesn't show it, but just looking at her makes him feel better about everything. They drive to his office and the entire time he tries hard not to look at her. Throughout the day she doesn't leave his mind, making him go crazy. At one point he starts yelling at his laptop, imagining that it is Chi. She, on the other hand, tries to stay as close to him as possible. Later that day they bump into Joe, who remembers Chi from the audition. He compliments her voice and says that she has improved. The results are yet to be announced, but the comment makes Chi very happy. Lee notices the change in her mood and feels a pang of jealousy. When she gushes about the director, the jealousy turns into irritation, and he asks her to shut up. Later, Lee sees a picture in his office that he doesn't like anymore. His assistant takes it off the wall and comments that he doesn't like a picture for more than 3 months. Lee realizes that if he looks at one thing for a long time, he no longer finds them attractive. He decides to use the same technique to get rid of his feelings for Chi. Hence, after work, he asks her to come with him for dinner. Chi is confused about the sudden kindness, but she agrees to go. Unlike what Lee thought, he cannot stop staring at her and gets even more frustrated. For a while, Chi is alone and gets a call from her father in prison. Lee sees how much she misses him and feels bad for her. After dinner, when they are walking to the car, Lee happens to hold her arm. She notices the timer going in reverse and is shocked. She doesn't tell Lee about it, but the concept is wild for her since she had accepted her death a long time ago. Then, Lee brings her to the cinemas, saying that he has to get his mind off things. Chi, as a good employee, follows him. While they are watching the movie, Chi wants to make sure that the timer actually stops when she touches him. She unknowingly touches his hand, which gives rise to an awkward interaction. Lee gets so close to her that she feels her cheeks flush. She looks back at the timer and, as predicted, it has reversed. The following day, Chi gets an email saying that she hasn't been selected for the musical. She bumps into Joe in the hallways, who says that her voice had emotions, but she wasn't able to express them. She is a raw gem, but they are looking for a polished one for this musical. When he starts criticizing her, Chi snaps back. She calls him a peanut and walks away, leaving him baffled. Later that day, Lee and B run into Chi and B finds out that Chi is the new driver. She instantly gets her guard up and invites her to dinner with her and Lee. He doesn't want to go with both of them, but Chi doesn't seem to have a problem. At the restaurant, they are informed that only 2 in-house seats are reserved, so Chi will have to stay on the terrace and eat alone. Lee asks her to return home because it would seem like they are disrespecting her, but B argues otherwise. She even hands Chi a check to pay for her meal. In the end, Lee and B are eating together, but he cannot stop looking at Chi. She is enjoying her meal, which is surprising to Lee because to him, she was just humiliated. B excuses herself to go to the washroom, and Lee takes the opportunity to go to Chi. He drags her outside the restaurant and asks her how she can be okay seeing him with another woman. Chi looks at him in confusion when he confesses that he likes her. And that's where the first part of the story ends. Please like and subscribe to support the channel and share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video for more fun recaps.